Okay, good evening, students. My name is Anil. I'm political science lecturer. So, am I audible? Please confirm.
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, thank you. So, yesterday was we discussed about the futures of the Indian political thought and resources of Indian political thought. After that, we discussed about the Manu also. So, today we are going to discuss about the Kautilya Saptanga theory. If there is a time after the Kautilya Saptanga theory, we'll discuss about the Buddha also. So we'll start with the Kautilya Saptanga theory. So Kautilya was an is a ancient political thinker. Is a very multi-dimensional personality. So one of his main famous work was the Arthashastra. It is studies across the disciplines like political science, international relations, there, diplomacy, security studies, economics, management. Also, like all the aspects are covered in the Arthashastra, which book is written by the Kautilya, and public administration also who is considered as one of the finest ministers and politicians in India. So his views on politics and the state uh, continue to resonate in contemporary India. So as it is widely believed that his work have not received enough attention not only in India but outside India as well. So the science of statecraft had been developing in India even before Kautilya. So he did not take a credit of being a pioneer in this field. He had compiled famous works and theories before him and gave his own views on them, covering various areas like politics, economy, and diplomacy. So there were at least four distinct scholars and the 13 individual teachers of Arthashastra before Kautilya. So it is very likely that Kautilya's masterpiece superseded them, which made them to redundant, leading to their disappearance. So it is therefore it is necessary that as Kautilya work has studied to analyze it relations through the centuries in order to understand the contemporary importance for India. So he worked many books on so, many books he wrote in. So there is no clear consensus about the Kautilya's life and times in which he lived. So he is also known by the name of Chanakya, based on his father's name Rishi. His father name is Rishi Chanak. So they're basically from the Brahmin family. Another name given to Kautilya is Vishnugupta. Vishnugupta is the given the name Kautilya uh, to the Chanakya. So since he is believed to be a follower of the Vishnu, the name Kautilya comes from his Kutil Gotra, which means shrewd and cunning. So he lived at the turn of 4th and 3rd century of the BC. Was it's near the 3rd and 4th century means will comparing to the Western as a contemporary of Aristotle and Alexander the Great. So the place of his birth also disputed as according to the different sources. Kautilya he was born in Takshashila, it's Gola district in the South India of Pataliputra in the Magadha dynasty. So Kautilya played a central role in the establishment of Maurya Empire under the Chandragupta Maurya, the first pan-Indian state extended over the most of the Indian subcontinent. So that was the Mauryas. So Chandragupta was a student of Kautilya who overthrew the Nanda dynasty and the wise counsel of his Guru Chanakya, who became the prime minister in his court. So in his book Ardhashastra, it has 15 parts, or we can call it as a 15 books, and 180 divisions, 150 chapters, and approximately there are 6,000 verses. I mean, shlokas, 6,000 shlokas. So detail about in that book there is details about the king and his ministers and other officers are even given that book. So 11 duties of the various executive officer, and the state's role in the activities like agriculture, mining, etc. So themes of law and administration are given in the book 3. And book 4 highlighted separation of the crime, miscellaneous topics like salaries of the officials, etc. These all covered in the book 5. Next, and the book for fifth is the constituent elements of the state. I mean, foreign policy, about the foreign policy in the book 6. In the book 7, also covered additional details about the foreign policy, how to maintain relations with the foreign states, and various calamities which may hamper a functioning of the state are given in the book 8. So detail pertaining to war preparations are given in the war preparations in the book of 9. And the fighting and the different modes of main concern in the book 9. And the book 11 describes how a conqueror should tackle oligarchies governed by the group of chiefs instead of the single king. In book 11, book 12, he highlighted the how to weak king can overcome a strong king. Then the book that describes about the how to conquer an enemy's fort. So like this in the all the book on 17th book, 15th book, it described the everything about. So I mean, there is a widely belief that the text of Ardhashastra was, yes, most of the people in Indian, not only in India, in the entire political, people believe that the text of the Ardhashastra was not available in till it was discovered by the Sanskrit scholar, the Shama Shastri, Dr. R. Shama Shastri. So he's found that book in the 17th century writing on bundle of palm leaves from the Pandit in the Tanjavur in 1904. So published the text in the 1909 and translation in 1915. So and next, Subrata K. Mitra and Michel Liebing in 2017, his work have argued that so there has been continuous oral and written transmission of Ardhashastra across time, as well as the lasting influence of Kautilyan thought on the politics in South Asia throughout the pre-modern duration. So and also Max Weber, uh, one of the foundational thinker of the modern social sciences, was the first Western, social scientist to recognize the significance of Kautilya in his works. So politics as a vocation and is sociology of religion studies and Hinduism. So apart from Shama Shastri, another Indian scholar who devoted his research career to Kautilya is a Kautilya is a Dr. R.P. Kangle, whose 3 volumes edition of Ardhashastra was it's published in between the 1960s and the 65. So another important translation of Kautilya has been done by Rangarajan in 1992. So which is a simpler and the rearranged version of the original work. Sanskrit philologists and Indologists have extensively engaged with the Kautilya's work. So, however, so their focus really differ from the each research approaches of political science. So it should be mentioned that Kautilya himself state in the very first paragraph of Ardhashastra that his work is the treatise on the sciences of politics. So before understanding the Kautilya's Ardhas, so everyone should know that the concept of the Purusharthas, which are the goals of human life or human aims and objective of the soul. So there are, we know the, Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, so Moksha. These are the four Purusharthas. So the times before Kautilya were dominated by Dharma and the regulated by the Dharma Shastra. Pursuit of Artha was superior to 3 other goals of life. So, however, with the Artha Shastra, pursuit of Artha became an end in itself, while other three aims of life were subservient to it. So Kautilya separated the polity from religion. So something similar that happened in the 16th century Europe. I mean, when the supremacy of religion was challenged by the state authority in the Westerns. So Dharma Shastra and the Dharma Shastra pertains to uh, more social, moral, and religion aspects. While Ardhashastra is more specific about the political and economics matters in the nature. So it is very similar to the Niti Shastra, as both are the policy oriented and give due importance to discipline, punishment, uh, and sanctions. So the Kautilya, Kautilya's views on the state are, it is very similar to, what later known as the social contract theory of the origin of the state. So we had argued that Matsyanaya, which is the law of the nature, it's needs to be eradicated. Oh, Matsyanaya means a bigger fish always swallows the smaller fish. It can be seen as a state of anarchy. I mean, where the power dominate the weak. So similar views were later expressed by the Thomas Hobbes in his theory also. So Kautilya said that people want security, peace. So and that is why they choose Manu. So as their king under the system of kinship, people agree to pay 1/6 of their food or food grains and 1/10 of their goods, including the gold, as a tax to the king, in return for guaranteeing their security, their safety of the people. So the king is duty bound to protect his subjects, his peoples. I mean, subject means his peoples. So and ensure their well-being life. So the king has the power to inflict the danda. Danda means nothing but punishment, to ensure order and stability in the society. So the theory of the state in ancient India before Kautilya argued that the state has to upload the laws of Varnashrama. I mean, Varnashrama means social laws based on the traditions and customs. And state had to minimalist function to intervene the situation so where these laws were not obeyed. However, with the Ardhashastra, Kautilya, Kautilya broke this tradition and advocated that the state should make laws of its own. So if there is a conflict between Dharmanyaya of the state and the Dharma Shastra, so the earlier would be prevail. So Ardha Shastra could be used as the manual of statecraft by any king. It was mainly meant for that Vijagishu. I mean, one who wanted to conquer, whole Indian subcontinent. So and the king was described as a Chakravarti in later Buddhist texts also. So Kautilya described structure of the state in his Saptanga theory. So it's a Saptanga theory. Will tell you the seven organs or seven elements of the states are seven Prakriti also. So these are the presented the right at the beginning of the in his book number 6. I mean, it's a subpart. So the text structure of the Ardhashastra as a whole follows a sequence of seven elements, starting with the Swami in a book. Book one, and the Amatya, Janapada, Durga, and Kosha are covered in its book 2 and 5. And Danda, Mitra are dealt with the book 6 to 15. So Saptanga was not original contribution of Kautilya, as some earlier works have referred to this theory. So the seven elements are combined to form of a state. The state can be compared to living organism. So where individuals are regarded as its organs. So these individuals lost their essence. So if they are separated from the state, while at the same time the state would also suffer if its organs or elements are damaged. Like Aristotle, Kautilya also believed in organic theory of the state. He said that there cannot be a country without people. So and there is no kingdom without, I mean, there is no kingdom without a country. So the seven elements of, I mean, seven elements of seven elements of the state as described by the Kautilya. So we'll discuss about one by one here. So before that, we'll I mean, it means I will explain the word Saptanga. The word is Saptanga. It indicates seven limbs. I mean, constituents or elements together. So the constituent, the state as an organism, like that. I mean, charity composed of seven parts, fitted and subservient on one another. So, at an extent, the Saptanga theory of the state finds elaboration in the ancient Greek political philosophy. For instance, while comparing the state with human body, Plato had argued that state has a cut in the finger causes pain in the body. So, similarly, injury of one organ creates problem for other organs of the body, body of politics. So, seven prakrits or elements were enumerated and illustrated by the Kautilya for describing the state of nature in its totality. So in the Saptanga theory, the first one is Swami, means the king. So the ruler is equivalent to the, I mean, head of the human body. Kautilya did not believe in divine origin of kinship. He believed it to be a human institution. The king, the state is a human institution, and ideal king, according to the Kautilya, ideal king is one who has the highest qualities of leadership, intellectuality, energy, and personal attributes. So the leadership qualities a king should be have in order to attract followers, including the birth in the noble family, truthful, prowess, intellectual, righteous, disciplined, enthusiastic. So being a stronger than neighbor kings and having ministers of high quality. So then the king will become the more strong. So the king's intellectual qualities, truthful views, and rejecting the false claims. So as far as personal attributes are the concerned, a king should be eloquent and have a kind of mind, the sharp intellectuals. So he should be amenable to guidance. The king should be just in both, I mean, rewarding and punishing. So at the same time, eschew passion, anger, greed, uh, obstinacy, fickleness, and uh, backdating. So Kautilya's political thought is influenced by the patrimonial state, in which authority is primarily, I mean, patrimonial means the authority primarily based on the personal power exercised by the ruler only. The ruler's competence in a statecraft is decisive for the power of the state and the welfare of the people. It should be highlighted that for Kautilya, the king is the first and foremost important factor and is the independent variables, while the other six elements of the state are dependent variables. So Kautilya said that the king and his ruler encapsulate all the elements of the state. One minute. I mean, so Kautilya, according to Kautilya, the ruler's competence in statecraft is decisive for the power of the state and the welfare of the people. So it should be highlighted that for Kautilya, the king is the first and foremost important factor, as he is the independent variable, while the other six elements are the state are dependent variables. So Kautilya said that king and his rule encapsulate all the elements of the state, right? So state in a Kautilya's conception is an absolute monarchy, but the monarch is not uh, despot who exercise the unrestricted and arbitrary power. So Kautilya opined that that the punishment should be used. Judicially, if the king wants to retain popular respect. So unjust exercise of authority could produce the resistance and may even lead to the revolt. So that's why is want to the powerful punishment only. So the ruler is committed to welfare of the people, which guarantees the popular support for his rule, ensuring the political stability. According to Kautilya, a king who follows his duty protect, protecting his protecting his people justly as for the laws when goes to heaven. So unlike the one who conflicts and punishment and does not protect his subject. So Kautilya's kinship could be called as a system of benevolent monarchy. So some of the main duties the class are that um, ensuring some duties is ensuring the people's welfare and give due assistance to pregnant women, newly born child, destitute, and the elderly. So, according to Kautilya, a king's happiness lies in the welfare of his subject. Lies in the welfare of his the people, is the citizens. Uh, the second one is to maintain the dharma or prescribe the duties of all human being, and the other one is to protect his subjects from the internal and external threats. So the king should be protect his people from the internal and external threats. Protection of the people from the eight type of calamities. The eight types means famine, fire, flood, and drought, epidemic, rats and locusts, etc. So snakes and aquatic dangers, wild animals like tigers and crocodiles and evil spirits. So he should protect the his peoples from all these calamities and maintain of law and order within the state, within the territory of the each state borders to and ensure universal and free education for all citizens based on the Vedic system. The education should be based on the Vedic system uh, to display amatya, atma vrata, self-control. To do this, the king had to abandon six enemies. Means Six enemies means kama, krodha, lobha, mana, mada, and asha. So he should leave these all enemies. The second element is according to Kautilya, the amatya. Amatya. So we are the king first element. The second element is the amatya. Amatya means so what happened? I'm not audible. Someone is texting that. So am I clear, right? Okay, okay. So don't text while going class. So if you have any doubts, we'll discuss. At the end of the class. So otherwise it will be disturb the class. I'm saying that something. Okay, okay, no issues. Okay, we'll continue with the class. So the second element is the Amatya. Amatya means the minister. Amatya represents, according to Kautilya, Amatya represents the eyes of the state. So Kautilya argued that the minister with the highest rank should be born in a high family, and he should be native of the state. So he should be under the control of the king only, and also he must be trained in all, all arts, and they should be uh, far-sighted. He should be firmly loyal and endure adversities. Some qualities like boldness, bravery, intelligence, and should be energetic. And the Council of Ministers is needed to provide stable and systematic administration. So highest grade of appointments were given to ministers who had all the requisite qualities. Low grade ministers were given to the ministers. Mm, who were it's less qualified, means nothing less qualified. So apart from the king, there are three top positions in the council of ministers. One is the mantri. We can call him also the prime minister. He is very closest to the, closest political advisor to the king. One second, give me 1 second. Okay, sorry for inconvenience. So the first one is the mantri, and we can call him as the prime minister. Is the closest political advisor of the king. So the and commander in chief, who involved in the military plannings and conducting the foreign policy related issues, and the crown prince, who alternates the between political and military assignments. So these four posts from the supreme body of political deliberations. So after them there are posts like minister of finance, chief justice, head of the public administration, etc. And Kautilya did not fix the number of ministers. Depends on the requirement. So the third element is it's a Janapada. Janapada means the people. Legs of the state, and includes both its a territory and the population of the state. The people should be prosperous, while the territory should have fertile lands, mines, forests, and water bodies, etc. So the demographic and economic base of the Kautilyan state in the rural population. So vast majority of the population lives in the countryside, engaged in agriculture and the craft. So small farmers from the Shudra caste are the main agriculturists in Kautilya state. So who have their own land. Own land, are there some tenants also there. So under the land reclamation policy, Kautilya favors allotment of land to Shudra peasants for cultivation. So more land under the cultivation would increase its state economy, its economic capacity, economic right. So forests are located in the countryside, which has economic and strategic significance. Forest also for the state. Forest provide the timber and charcoal, dyes, medicines, bamboo leaves, etc. Forest also serves as the habitats for used for the civilians and the military purpose. So those days, um, the elephants were used in the military. So a state should have well trained war elephants. So Kautilya believed that the rural population has stronger physical and the mental makeup than the urban population. So, and that's why I did not approve of the urban style entertainment like alcohol consumption and gambling for the countryside. So he is not supposed to this all thing. Then another one is the Durga. I mean, Durga means the fort. So Durga it's represent the arms of the state, security of treasury, and army would be depend on the fortification of the state. So Kautilya says that on the frontiers of the country, every quarter will have a fort. Will equip to defend against the enemies. In a total, four forts shall be constructed in places that are naturally suited for defense. So a land fort is the easiest to capture, while the river fort is more difficult. Right. So a fort situated, on mountain is more difficult to capture. Right. So Kautilya has detailed many types of forts in his book Ardha Shastra, like Parva fort is built amidst of high mountains. So this forts plays an important role while defending against the external attacks. Next one is the Dhanwan fort, is surrounded by the deserts, and another one is the Van fort, is situated amidst a dense of forests. So Kautilya further says that the capital should be built at the center of the kingdom. So and should be divided into four districts of each caste. So the next element, the fifth element is the kosha. Kosha means nothing but treasury. So kosha is considered as the mouth of the state. Kautilya opined that the wealth of the state shall be acquired lawfully only, legally, either by the inheritance or by king own efforts, consisting of gold, gems, and the silver. The wealth should be enough to allow the country to withstand the calamity. So even if the calamity is for longer duration, in which there is no income generated. So treasury is located in the fortified capital, which is used to finance the army, the royal courts, and the state apparatus. So good financial resources can improve the force status of armed forces. So, but a powerful army cannot survive without money. So that's why the main tax of Kautilyan state in the tax in the kind. 1/6 of agriculture production output. So it goes to the state only. Kautilya also recommended special levies to be charged on alcohol, gambling, road tolls, sales of jewelry, commercial sexual services, so etc. There are a lot of charges are there. So he also cautioned that the excessive taxation is economically and politically counterproductive, which would lower economic output and the uh, purpose of the people. So the sixth one is the danda. Danda means sena. It's a course of, armed forces, secret services, and polices come under the sena. So sena it is equivalent to the brain in human body. It is equivalent to the brain in the human body. The soldiers should be strong, obedient, not averse to long expeditions. With the power of endurances, skills in the handling of all weapons, and experience of many battles. So they should keep their wives and sons contented. So next, they should have no interest other than the of the king, and should share their prosperity and adversity. So a strong army is required to ward off internal and external threat to a country. So Kautilya has described the six types of army there, according to the Kautilya. So the one number one is the clan army. One minute. Why it's fluctuating? So the first one is the clan army. It's constituted of hereditary soldiers like Kshatriyas. As son of soldiers become as a soldier. Kautilya gives a maximum importance to this type of army. I mean, clan army. Such as soldiers are loyal to the king and know the different types of war strategy. So, because they belongs to the Kshatriya family and their forefathers belongs to the war family, that's why. The second one is the hired soldiers are militia army. A mobilization of military army is the time consuming compared to the standing army. The next one is an army constituted by the uh, corporations. So another one is an army raised by recruiting the assistance of friendly countries. And the another one is the fighting unit by the prisoner of war. I mean, example, enemy soldiers caught during the war. And another one, final one is the an army made up by the tribal people. So coercive power of state includes the army. There is a secret services and the polices and command in the chief or senapati. Command in the chief means senapati belongs to the innermost circle of the king, and it is responsible for military strategic planning and conduct it's a military operations during a war. So Ardhashastra highlighted as well developed defense industry where state run manufacturers produce military equipments like chariots, siege engines, tenants, trolleys, etc. So Kautilya did not comment on naval warfare. He didn't talk about the naval warfare. So as he did not say anything about the sea-going navy. So according to Kautilya, so army is divided in four services: infantry, cavalry, and chariotic or war elephant. These are the four. I mean, the four types of services of army according to the Kautilya. The Kautilya has highlighted the four basic forms of warfare. The number one is the mantra yuddha. So it's a war by the counsel of or use of diplomacy. In this type of war, they will use diplomacy by weakening the king who finds unwise to fight against the strong adversary. The second one is the Prakash Yuddha. So in a regular warfare, where opposing armies fight according to established rules and regularities. The third one is Kuta Yuddha. So it's irregular warfare, including the ambushes and raids in enemy territory. Next is Tsunami Vidya. So it includes the covert operations like sabotage and targeted killings. Kautilya advised that if the war becomes inevitable, effort should be made to avoid and war. So, and offensive is recommended in case there is a overwhelming superiority over an already weakened opponent. So, if favored tsunami yuddha or covert war, if favored about the covert war, where mental facility, I mean, faculties like intelligence, foresight, psychological skills, so and it's ingenuity matters. So he supported it. Kautilya had also given due importance to elaborate system of spies in the king. He encouraged the spies in the kingdom. They would keep an eye on the working of ministers and any types of advisor public opinion against the king, and also information about other kingdoms. So a spy could be in the disguise of the uh, I mean, kapitik means discipline. Uh, that's what is the Udashita, Grihakpatik, next Vaidehak, next Tapas, Satri, next the Tikshana, Rasada. So and the I mean Bhikshuki. So these are the some types of spices. The seven last and element is the Mitra. I mean friend. Mitra repent, it's represent the years of state. So according to Kautilya, an ideal ally or ideal friend is one who is a friend of the family for a long time. So constant and powerful in support, amenable to control, shares a common interest, can be mobilized this army quickly. So and it is not someone who would double cross his friends, double cross the friends. So Kautilya says that the king should focus on strengthening first six elements of the state. So in modern and international relations lexicon, it would be mean internal balancing. So as the state tries to gain strength purely on its internal resources, if a state's resources are underdeveloped compared to the other state, and they here Kautilya advised that state to have external alliance in order to have a time for internal development. So the alliance can be terminated if the state has reached a position where it is not weak in a comparison to the other state. Kautilya advises that state have external allies in order to, internal have development, internal development. So the alliance can be terminated if the state has reached a position, so where it is not weak in comparison to the other states, or if alliance hampers uh, interdevelopment of the state. So in Kautilya's scheme of things, a best friend is the state that gives up its own sovereignty and becomes a vassal state. So like this, the external ally effectively becomes say internal factor by accepting the status of vassal state. So there are some comparison in the works of Kautilya with in the Plato and Aristotle. So we'll see. So there are, constant comparison between the, Oriental and Occidental thinkers, which falls. It will, it will happen. So Kautilya, on hand, is often compared his Western counterparts. Accidentally. It's not deliberately. Thinkers like Plato, Aristotle, and Machiavelli. So there are some similarities between the Kautilya and Plato. Both thinkers, Kautilya and Plato, thought that state should be ruled by the learned and elites. So an ideal which does not endorse the democracy. And Plato favored slavery, while Kautilya's Ardhashastra caste system has been maintained. So, functional specialization was important to their concept of social structure. Plato never discussed slavery formally. His views need to be extracted from someone remarks made by him in his work. The Republic and the Laws. So they also share their contempt towards common man. Plato said that common man is nothing but the bundle of appetites. So while Kautilya said that the common man is inconsistent and unsteady. So Kautilya advocated it's the conquest of senses, which is it's similar to Plato concept of virtue, which favors conquest of self or the inner enemy. So both prefer um, their king. They prefer their king to be from the military class only. Plato guardian is the Kshatriya. Plato guardian is the Kshatriya Swami of the Kautilyas. So there were some differences as well between two ancient stalwarts. Plato favored aristocracy to do two functions, to rule and to do intellectual activity. And the flip side, Kautilya wanted Brahmins to do intellectual activity, while the rule would be done by the Kshatriya king. So Plato was a philosopher, while Kshatriya was a seasoned politician. Apart from being philosopher. So Kautilya has made the substantial contribution to the field of diplomacy, foreign policy. So while these aspects did not find much mention in the Plato's work, there is no place for this. Diplomacy and foreign policy. in the Plato's work. And the comparison, next comparison with this, Kautilya in the Aristotle. So these both thinkers were almost so contemporary to each other. Uh, so there are some similarities between Aristotle and Kautilya. So both were teachers. I mean, successful kings. Kautilya was a teacher for the, I mean, teacher for the Chandragupta Maurya, and Aristotle was the teacher of the Alexander Great. So the both were the successful teachers for the kings. And next, Kautilya was a, I mean, we'll know. Kautilya was a teacher of Chandragupta, and Aristotle was a teacher of Alexander the Great. Okay. So both of the believed in the organic theory of the state. They had similar views regarding the republican states. Aristotle advocated thoughtfulness, good conduct, and well-trained citizens. So he also said that state should be organized to develop a class of virtuous men and philosophers who could assert supremacy of reason. And here Kautilya also attached the importance to the king to preserve the solidarity of the state. So he also emphasized the importance of the individual and the value of human endeavor to secure a best life under the king. Kautilya and Aristotle have discussed economics and sociology of slavery. So both supported the institution of slavery. So Kautilya at the same time prescribed the punishment for practicing slavery. So seems it's a moral. It's a, I mean, more liberal than the Aristotle, Kautilya here. So similarities are withstanding. There are some. I mean, there are also many differences between the Kautilya and Aristotle, like Kautilya and Plato. So Aristotle gave a definite concept of the origin of state, while Kautilya was more interested in statecraft and how to make a state stronger. Aristotle defended slavery on psychological grounds, but that was not the case with the Kautilya. So Aristotle even condemned and denounced the accumulation of wealth, while Kautilya supported it as it was the basic of karma and artha. So the another comparison between the Kautilya and the Machiavelli. So Kautilya's Arthashastra has much in the common with two books written on the kinship by Niccolo Machiavelli. I mean, its books, The Prince and the Discourses. So the pursue the same value how prince acquire, maintain, and enlarge his power. So they also champion the cause of centralized monarchy against all forms of government. So ironically, Kautilya is often called Indian Machiavelli. So despite the fact that Ardhashastra written some 800 years prior to the Machiavelli's work, so and it remains much broader in the scope. So in a legitimate importance to Kautilya, his works points towards the prevailing Eurocentrism in political science and international relations. So compared to Machiavelli, Kautilya's conceptualization of state power is systematic and comprehensive. So Machiavelli had a basic understanding of the elements of state power and how to measure it. However, he failed to form a systematic and coherent theory of state power, which could parallel Kautilya Saptanga theory. So another difference between them pertains to use of morality by the king. Kautilya said that the good ruler, means the good king, should also be good man. So on the other hand, on the flip side, but Machiavelli said that so it is not necessary for the prince or the king to have virtues. So, but it is necessary to seem to have them. So Kautilya did not subordinate ethics to politics and bearing the certain conditions. So he advised the king to uphold morality and good behavior. So in Kautilya's separation between politics and morality is unimaginable, and political power acquires legitimacy super. It promotes human happiness. Machiavelli believed that morality and power are mutually exclusive. So Machiavelli had asked the prince to adapt two qualities of animals. I mean, like bravery of lion and cunningness of fox. But in Kautilya, in his other work, Rajaniti Shastra advised that a king to learn 20 qualities from the 20 different animals. For example, from the lion, the king should learn the undertake to task well prepared, irrespective of the fact whether the task is big or small. From the cock, the king should learn the four things: getting up in time, fighting, division of responsibility among the allies, and the enjoyment of one's prey after attacking itself. So qualities like bravery, uh, devotion to master, and quick awakening could be learned from the dog. So it is not clear whether Machiavelli was influenced by Kautilya. So, but it's a transcultural migration of Kautilyan thought via Iranian and Arab cultures, space to the Europe. It's not impossible to imagine. So, Ardhashastra was the same vintage as Aristotle politics, unlike Plato and the Aristotle's Ardhashastra is broad in the scope of approach. Right. So it embraces all the aspects of sorry. So all aspects like political, morality, social, economic and culture life and advisor components of state power, so that are the constitutive elements of the state. So however there is no death of Kautilya's critics. Banabhatta in his work Kadambadri had criticized that Ardhashastra for being shrewd and immoral. And next Vigneshwara in his work Mitakshara said that the king should follow the Dharma Shastra for welfare of the people and not Ardhashastra. So debate that Kautilya should be rightly regarded as the father of Indian political science. So as his work treatise on science of politics. In modern times, however, in modern times, all elements of the state Kautilya cannot be modern in a modern times state could not be necessary extensive. So in modern conception of state, elements like the king or the sovereignty, population needed for state system. Or the minister would depart from the government in a contemporary context, right? So there is a tendency to dismiss state. So this welfare functions of Kautilya state. They also declare independence politics spreading from it. So Kautilya argued benevolent monarchy instead of other form stability and solidarity in the state. So he was not a votary of democracy and in contemplations. So one may wonder how Kautilya would deal with these issues like different opinions, gender, diversity, human rights, etc. So we'll sum up Kautilya. So Kautilya is we know the Kautilya is the father of Indian political science. However, his works have not been given due importance and analyzed has not been done it in Indian, not only in India but also outside of India as well. So ancient Greek philosophers like Plato, Aristotle continue to dominate class political thought, while Kautilya remains on the uh, fringes of reflecting Eurocentrism and political science and internationalism. So long before the West witnessed the separation of state and church under the modernity in the 16th century. So Kautilya already advocated independent status of politics away from the religion. So in Western, they discussed in the 16th century, but before that, only Kautilya discussed it. So his Saptanga theory is a systematic and coherent theory of the state power. I mean, which was unmatched by the Machiavelli. So he may not have advocated democracy, but Kautilya said that welfare of the people was central to stability and security of kingdom. So Kautilya figure stands, say, tallest among the community of Indian political scientists. There is a need for further analysis work in the contemporary context also. So this is about the, Kautilya's and the Saptanga theory. According to Kautilya, there are 7 elements in Saptanga theory. So this is about the Kautilya. If you have any doubt, you may ask. Are you there? Anyone is there? Sir, so what is it? SK, I'm not getting your point. What is the example? You can unmute yourself, you may ask. So, SK, what is the example one? What you're asking? So type the full sentence. Otherwise, I cannot understand. So, Hali, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. We don't have any doubts.
Okay. Is it clear about Kautilya and his Saptanga theory? Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then others, if there is any doubts, so otherwise we'll conclude. If you don't have doubts, we'll conclude the class. Next class we'll discuss about the Buddha's theory.
Yes, sir, we can conclude.
Okay. Thank you. We'll meet on next class. Thank you, everyone.